across the country. I would say our objective is to come alongside them and help them keep a higher percentage of what they make. We work with some of the biggest, team leaders, and in the different markets, and we work with agents that barely even have a transaction coordinator. So there's a pretty wide gamut of agents that we work with.
Cool. No, and I appreciate you hopping on, Jim. I think a tax professional, a tax specialist is, highly valuable, especially going into season and closing out the year. So that's it. This is really the part where I shut up. I have realized if I tell us how you really feel. No, that's great. I deserve that. But what we're going to do now is just talk about the market. I mean, obviously, if there's a lull in the conversation, I have some kind of jump starters, but I mean, I'm just going to get out of the way. So the market is a hot topic right now, and I'm just curious what you guys are experiencing out there. So we'll just open it up.
Well, short and sweet on our end, from what we see, is that the market has been red hot this summer for the last few months. And actually, it's been pretty surprising because, with everything going with COVID and the downturn in our economy in the spring, we were kind of expecting there to be a downturn in our market, and we haven't seen that. I think our biggest challenge there's not been enough inventory, but we definitely have buyers out in the market looking for properties across property classes.
I don't know how you guys have experienced it, but I definitely have experienced like a surge in the market right after there was like a big lull for 3 weeks or so. But I also saw it very quickly, it got segmented very quickly too, right? Because like some listings would just be like, oh man, this thing's gonna sell tomorrow, and it would just sit. And others would, like you said, like they would fly off. So I think very early on, I noticed like a pretty intense segmentation of like certain like locales, like very specific locales in the market. And it's even become more so like that, because it's not like there's not a lot of buyers out there that I'm not seeing. I feel like people just have super strong preferences, and it's like that herd buyer mentality of like, well, nobody wants to be here, they all want to be here.
I would agree with that. I think what we're seeing is not only segmented in areas, but segmented in types of property that people want. So for instance, those that are looking, there's this huge surge and push towards multi-unit property, and there's just not enough inventory to satisfy that. So you just have, they want multi-units, they only want it in this area, at this price point, totally renovated. There's a unicorn that people have in their mind that they're looking for. And at times, one, it's difficult to find, but then when you do find it, there's 50 other people that also want that same unicorn. And now we have a bidding war. And the other part of that for the seller is like, yes, bidding war. And they're going to offer $40,000 above list. Wonderful. Except when the appraisal comes.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't appraise. And then everyone's left like.
Yeah. Sure.
Yep. Yes to all of the above. I feel like that's exactly what's going on all levels. It's truly just insane what I did think, like right before all of this, or I guess right when it first started going, there were certain properties that I knew I would have bet my life that they would have sold immediately, and others would have sat, and it's like turned to be like the exact opposite. And so what I thought was, I looked at a home, I've become like the suburban agent. I had no idea. But every home that I've listed in the suburbs has sold in like a New York minute, and where I would have thought they would have sat for 6 months to a year. And then my beautiful Chicago properties are taking forever to move, and then take it to the downtown area, Gold Coast and River North, and there's Lucy, and I can't even get a showing. I don't know what it's going to take to just even get a showing. And I would have bet my life that they would have moved extremely quickly. So people's needs have certainly changed very, very quickly. I feel like it's almost like artificially and changed because of things, and I just wonder what it's going to be like once this is all over.
And I think the pandemic has actually played a role in that. and what their preferences are, because they've been sitting at home, and the home that they originally bought that they thought they liked, they were only spending time, sleeping, eating, and that was kind of it. But now they're in it 24/7, and they're, I don't know if I really like open concept. I'd like to block people off at times now. And so their mindsets have changed, and architecture has not been able to catch up with that preference change as quickly. So again, I think that's part of the reason why we're seeing it being difficult to meet the preferences, because their preferences have changed really, like you said, artificially, because they've had to sit at home now, and they're realizing things they thought they liked, they really don't.
Yeah. And they're looking for more space because, CPS is at home. They may have, kids at
Multiple
home.
kids.
Yeah, all learning online. They're not having to go in the office, so they don't need to be by the blue line anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's so many things that have changed, like in the periphery.
Mm-hmm.
And I literally, during COVID, I couldn't keep anything on the market. I was begging people to list their home because I knew I could sell it really fast, as long as it had outdoor space. And I do feel like things are slowing down a little bit. I do have a couple in the city which are slow, but on one I've had a couple second showings. So and I've seen a couple, some things go under contract in downtown, like Streeterville, which is a good sign. Maybe things are starting to move a little bit more than faster than we expected downtown. So, so overall, I think if you've got space, if you've got outdoor space, I think things are moving pretty quickly if it's updated. I find that if things are not updated and show well, then most people can't see past.
Visualize.
They can't visualize paint color, their own furnishings, lighting, so I'm trying really hard to try to update my listings, as much as that makes sense.
Yeah, I think you hit it on the head. I mean, there's so many factors that are hindering certain listings, and updates is like so important, right? 'Cause but the thing is like I don't know if it's simply because people don't want to update, or because they don't want people in their home because of COVID, right? Because it's like, well, I mean, I could, but then I have this person to paint, and I have this person to update that, and it's like, and then supply chain, everything's expensive.
Or they're just being conservative with their finances. Right?
Sorry.
That's the big challenge. There's a lot of fear, and that definitely plays in the decisions that people make. Do I want to spend money to recoup something I may or may not get? So
I agree with you, Lou. I also do agree that people being in people's homes right now is scary, right? So I had some listings, and my sellers, anytime we do a listing, we're going to do photography, we'll do a 3D scan. But I had sellers who said, okay, well, since you're doing 3D and everything, there's no need for anyone to come in, right? And so I had to, kind of do some finagling and just say, listen, let's do this. Let's pick one day for 3 hours. We'll let people come in. I'll do them one by one. And I will be the person that does all the touching. We'll ask that no one touch anything. And so just to give that level of comfort, again, thankfully, these have been hot homes and hot areas, so that one day for 3 hours was more than enough to get it under contract. But there is a fear there of people actually coming into their homes. And then the financial part of it too, because people are afraid of the market. Again, when this started, there was really no guidance as to what's going to happen. I think intuitively, we all thought it's going to crash. And then it didn't. It actually started to surge. But a lot of sellers in particular are cautious, like, wait a minute, if I sell, first of all, I want to make sure that I'm going to have some type of profit. And then two, if I sell, will I then be able to find inventory?
Absolutely.
To purchase something else?
And I know some people did not move forward with the listing because they had nowhere to go. So, or they would have to travel to a different state and they were nervous about that. So there were so many factors playing into their decision that, and then also speaking of, you know, painting and getting things done, it was hard to get, a lot of vendors weren't working. Like one of my vendors, one of the team members had COVID, so they shut down, you know, so having people in, and then even if they were working, just getting people scheduled was almost impossible. So that was one factor.
I'm curious when you.
Sorry.
No, you go. I thought I count like 1,000 in my head, and if there's a lull, then I'll chime in. So, Lou, you have the floor, my friend.
So one of the things that, you know, I constantly think about as the managing broker of our office is kind of where our market is going over the winter and into the spring. I'd be curious as to get your thoughts as to what you see in the next couple months.
Good question, Lou.
Well, I'll share anecdotally a couple of things. So one, we own real estate in other states, some single family properties. And for me, just given the government stimulus and all that happened and the cash that a lot of people had to take action, we sold some of our holdings because the demand was really high. I will affirm not only what Melanie and Gregory said, in those different markets that we're in other states, I was shocked at how neighborhood-centric drove the demand. Like we have some properties in the Indianapolis market. The properties that I thought were the best properties were not in the right neighborhoods, and the properties that were in the right neighborhoods sold like that. I had 5 offers, 5% over list twice, right? So with that, I just felt like the demand was so strong and people were flush with cash because of the CARES Act and the money that the government was, you know, just raining down on people. For me, at least on the lower end of the food chain, I was pretty comfortable getting out, you know, as a real estate owner, as opposed to seeing what's going to happen, you know, if the market does turn in 6 to 12 months.
I don't know. I don't like playing into this whole story that everyone's like running away from Chicago. You know, it's like, it's a fun story to like, you know, hear and sure, like it's definitely like, it's not all peaches and roses, but I mean, this is still the best city in the world. I mean, at the end of the day, like we got like, you know, just the ultimate attractions. We have right next to the lake and we have beautiful neighborhoods. It's something for everybody, right? I mean, I just think, you know, like the biggest concern, of course, is like our business is going to come back to business, right? Like into the actual office spaces. But I don't think that that's honestly what drives people to live in Chicago. Chicago drives people to live in Chicago, right? I mean, we the street fests and the activities, the Cubs, the Sox, like all of these things combined make us the best city. So, you know, I'll pick up some good deals, right? And like ride that wave back up. But I mean, the city's going nowhere. No way.
Yeah, I think there's just too much going on to where I feel like we're going to see, you know, anything close to, I hear people talking about a recession. I'm like, I don't think that we're going to experience that just with all that we're seeing now. Mm-hmm. I'm sure that things are going to be slowing down as we're all seeing. You know, what I would have had maybe even a month ago with multiple offers, I'm definitely seeing less showings and, you know, just taking a little bit longer. But I think overall, I think the interest rates are still keeping people, you know, going strong, as well as just realizing that they're needing more space. I think really the big struggle is the good inventory. You know, I feel like, I don't know, for me, I've been looking at off-market properties constantly because I can't seem to find anything online. So I am constantly reaching out on these off-market sites to see what, you know, do you have anything, and reaching out to agents directly. And I think that finding those off-market deals are really important now.
Yeah.
I would say that I am cautious when speaking with buyers as far as their readiness to buy, right? I think because of what has happened in the market, though we've seen a surge in people being pre-approved and being able to buy, what does that really mean, right? So do you have savings? And the reason this is important is because we are seeing so many bidding wars and so many above list offers that are you able to handle closing costs? I don't think that there's a run away from Chicago, but I do think that there's a run to certain neighborhoods of Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
So there's just a difference in where people want to be in Chicago, but people love the city. And again, I'm with you, Grigory, that that's not going to change.
Mm-hmm.
It's just where are they interested in living in the city? Mm-hmm. I am, like I said, just being cautious. I think it's important to set the expectation with buyers. One, that there's not a lot of inventory. And so we have to be realistic about that, that in a market where, you know, you may look for 2 weeks, tops, and find what you love. We put in an offer. It's a good offer. Maybe we have a moment of negotiation and you win. You don't have those. Your first offer has to be your best offer. And you have to have money in the bank. You have to be prepared to pay closing costs, because a lot of sellers are not interested in doing that because they know what the market is right now.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's, you know, the inventory issues playing into pricing, right? Because
absolutely,
it's not like there's like not a lot of stuff out there. It's just a lot of improperly priced things, right?
Absolutely.
And I see this delta where, like, you know, buyers are ready to pay the right price for the right property. They've never been more educated on what they actually want with all of the resources out there, right? I mean, they're doing their due diligence. They're starting more and more. Now everyone's starting to search online, right?
Yes.
So, and then it's like with our 3D walkthroughs, people are just so like, they know what they want. They've been stuck in their house. So you're absolutely right. The four walls have to get bigger, and they know what they're looking for. And when the right place pops up, they're going to buy it. And I'd say that even with the craziest market, like I've done more like deal searching this year than I ever have before, like Melanie was saying, because you have to, right?
Absolutely.
But the stuff that's out there that's just sitting, it's not sitting because, well, certain things, you know, certain areas I don't think are price conscious right now. I think it's just, I think people are just like, River North is, it's a like Wild West out there. Like I can't put it on. I just can't. And I have an amazingly priced unit in River North, and I can't beg people to come see it. I can't beg. We had an open house with 4 other agents in the building, all doing it at the same exact time to maximize exposure, not one person come through, right? And it's just unheard of.
Yeah.
But then I sold like another place down the street because it's a few streets over. I can't put my finger on it, but you know, everything is obviously price driven, and you have to, as the professionals in the room, like know where those prices, the true prices, lie in what the buyer is going to buy it for, right? So it's a toss up. It's tough.
And you hit on 2 things that I think are important. One, that we're dealing with a very educated segment of buyers, that we are not dealing with buyers who have not been reading. I mean, they've been making great use of this time at home. So they are researching, they know what property should be priced at. Yeah. And so even when they see something that they love, they can tell that it's overpriced. So then there's kind of a pushback as well, like, why would I pay that much for? And sometimes that's why it's sitting. But then also to get back to that appraisal part, even when you have a situation where the buyer and the seller agree on this overpriced piece of property, then the appraiser comes in and says, oh, nope, actually, we're not going to do that. And, you know, sometimes that kills deals. So as the professionals, of course, you know, when we're representing sellers, we want to kind of push that property value a little bit, but we have to do it within reason to ensure that the property can actually be closed on.
I think the challenge for me is a little different. I actually don't see a lot of options out here in our segment of the market. And some of these properties that are being priced above what we thought they would, actually are, I mean, the values are going up. I mean, this is capitalism. It's supply and demand, and scarcity drives properties up. So absolutely. If I got 10 buyers and I got 2, you know, qualified properties, the price is going to go up. And, you know, I'm a person that, you know, shows up and tries to, how can I tactically say this, you know, present my case, you know, to an appraiser and say, you know, hey, we had, you know, this was my listing and it was priced here. You know, the contract price was $20,000 above, but we had 10 offers in that came in the first day. And I've seen that repeatedly over the last couple of months. You know, to the point now where I'm putting listings on the market and agents are, you know, trying to do their you know, do you have any offers on the table? Do you have any strong offers on the table? I say, look, don't play around. Yeah, don't play around at all. This property is going to be gone tomorrow for real. And
You don't have to tell people that I'm calling you, Lou, asking for favors.
hey, come on in and get it and come.
Lou, let me ask you, where would you say most of your listings are at right now that you're seeing the most multiple offers in?
So we do a lot on the south end of the city, you know, south of Roosevelt. And a lot of our properties, Whitney made mention of this early, a lot of people are looking for 3 and 4 units now.
Yeah.
There's 3 or 4 units are just not available. And it's almost as if I know every single 3 or 4 unit on the south side of Chicago, you know, without even having to go to the MLS because there's so few of them, and everybody's calling about them. So even when I put my 2 units on the market now, you know, we get 10 offers in, or we get 20 showings the first couple of days. I had a property in Washington Park. I mean, we literally had 27 people show up the first day the property was on the market. We had to sit out there all day long to let people go cycle through the property.
I'm telling you, the way I see it right now, it's not people leaving the city. I think it's just price is getting, like, the whole city's getting reevaluated, right?
Yep.
And people are looking for that value. And the city's bigger than you know, core north side listings only. And but the focus has been like that for the last, you know, 10 years or so. And you know, unfortunately, and fortunately, it's like prices and people are just like, you know what? I don't need to be close to downtown. I don't need to be close to the location. There's amazing properties and amazing neighborhoods outside of this little specific area, and people are moving out. And look, I completely agree with you. Like, areas that wouldn't get as much attention is getting all the attention now. And other people are just like, you know what? It's just not worth it for me to live there. I'd rather just go right here, and you know, my money will go way further. So I love hearing that.
And that's what I was going to say. I think people from Lincoln Park, so areas up north, are actually moving more south, right? So like Bronzeville, Hyde Park, they're seeing, okay, we can get these amazing properties in Bronzeville for, you know, $800,000 that would cost $2 million in Lincoln Park. Yep. So again, they're not moving from the city. They're just finding more value in other areas of the city. And you're still right by the water in Bronzeville, in Hyde Park. You're still right there. So all of those amenities that I think used to really be marketed up north, they're realizing, oh, there are beautiful areas on the south side that have those same amenities. And why am I paying so much when I can get the same thing here?
To answer your question, Greg, you know, where I'm seeing a lot more of the traffic happening, and just can't keep a property on the market for more than a day, is more like in the Logan Square area, in the $600,000 to $800,000 price point. That seems like kind of a sweet spot and a sweet location in terms of just you know, being able to kind of turn a property. I've sold a couple off market just recently, never even had to put it on the MLS, and had multiple interest and offers. So it's interesting to see that. I wish I could have more of those listings.
How is the new construction market coming along?
Good, but you know what? I'll tell you, the difference that I'm seeing with the new construction market these days is that whereas before I could sell it off market, not off market, but before it's finished. And I mean, easy. Like it was easy to sell it before, you know, when there's not even drywall on the wall, you know, up yet. But now people want to see a finished product. That's been the difference. And I remember this before. I remember selling, you know, new construction back in, like, what was it, 03, 04. I could sell it off of paper. It was so easy. And then I remember the times where you had to have a completely finished product, and we're kind of getting to that point again.
Why do you think that is? What drives that?
I think, well, first of all, I think there is a little bit more inventory in just the areas that I'm selling new construction. So I think there's just a lot to look at, and people just don't have the confidence anymore of seeing something, you know, that's not finished. I don't know, I guess there really hasn't been such a serious drive to be able to lock something up so quickly. They have time, they know they want to make a move, but they want to just take the time and see everything and make sure that, you know, they're not pulling the trigger too soon. But I'm saying it's still getting a lot of traffic, just less pulling the trigger these days on that.
I attribute buyers to moving as slow as molasses. I think I've used that term like 100 times the last month. Like second showings, third showings, they don't mean anything anymore.
No.
Like, oh, you're back? Okay. Like bored again? Like, I mean, it's just, it's like, you're not going to make a decision, right? Because like you have another 3-year lease ahead of you. I'm like, I can tell my sellers I have a showing, I guess. Like,
Right, exactly.
They'll be slow as molasses until they lose a couple of those bidding wars.
Yeah.
And then they want to pull the trigger immediately. You don't even have to tell them. After they've lost a couple bidding wars, it's like, put in an offer right now, and I want it 30,000 above list. It's like, oh.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely. They lose one and they get more realistic.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
Single family homes, like on the northwest side, have been going so fast, multiple offers.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, Whitney, like give us your best offer right away. We're not dealing with escalation clauses. So, that like people are coming in way over asking to get the price there because they have nice big yards. It's not $1 million home.
Yeah.
So they're very attractive. A lot of people coming from the city, downtown or coming up that way. But I was thinking about, my pre-listings and, pricing these properties that are going to come on the market. And I've been telling my clients that, it's a great way to get information. And if we get no showing requests, no questions, no feedback, no information is a ton of information, right?
Absolutely.
So it's very telling on, we probably should not go on at this price. We got to be more reasonable. And so that's been important for me the last couple months for pricing.
Has anyone seen an issue with once a property has gone under contract with it actually closing? As far as buyers perhaps losing their jobs or being furloughed in the midst of the process?
I'd say more so in the beginning. I feel like it's stabilized now a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, don't get it twisted. We are coming in for a big second wave, right? So,
yeah.
I mean, but I think that stuff gets leveled out the first 3 weeks. Everyone was like, early April, I was like, cool, like maybe I should start looking for a new gig. I mean, like I've never, my phone, for 3 weeks, my phone didn't ring. And I was like, I'm just like moping around, like, cool, that was a fun run, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But then after that, everyone's like, all right, I still got my job. Seems like I can work from home, and it was back off to the races, and people just figured it out. I mean, the resilience of like humankind to like just continue is pretty incredible. But yeah, I'd say like I've lost maybe a few deals in the beginning. Somebody like, due to coronavirus or whatever, but it's been, pretty consistent for me now that, deals more. So if anything, it's just like an appraisal comes in below.
Mm-hmm.
Not after the fact, but I definitely had a big deal die because my client got furloughed right before we were about to close. It was heartbreaking for her. It was heartbreaking for us. But that is our business. We ride the waves and we survive and we thrive.
Yeah. For sure.
Absolutely.
No, I'll never forget. It was like within 72 hours, we lost 30% of our incoming revenue, right? Like, it's just like, cool, that was cool. That's fun. I'm going to cry now in the corner. But, you shake it off.
That's all you can do. We're resilient.
You have to.
That picture will be in the next issue. Okay, continue.
Of him crying in the corner.
Yeah.
The many crying faces of Greg. Yeah.
You'll become a meme, Greg. Like the Michael Jordan crying.
Yeah, right? Yeah. I'll become a symbol for resilience in real estate.
Hey, Ryan, I'm curious, man. What are you seeing in your world? I mean, we got a wealth of knowledge. So I think you're more experienced than everybody combined, the years added up on this little jam session. So I'm just trying to get you to smile. But no, seriously, man. What's happening in your world, my friend?
Everything that everyone's resonating about, like even from like Greg's topic about people coming back to the city. Well, I see it like from a different perspective. Like I see people moving into the city. I see people from the suburbs gravitate back into the city because, spending 6 months at home and really getting to know your neighbors really didn't work out that great, right? I hate my neighbors. I'm moving back into the city, right? And then I see people moving from like that downtown condo into that northwest, side, single family home. It just cycles. People are just moving. We're just a quasi-nomadic, race of people that like moving. I mean, that's why statistically you're going to change your house every 7 to 10 years because you end up disliking it. Right now the affordability with the low interest rates, it's fantastic. From the multifamily space, I mean, Greg and I talk about multifamilies a lot, right? And why they make sense for people, especially as that first home, right? Don't try to get in there, later on, because it's going to cost you a lot more money. If it's your first time that you're buying it, you can use the low down payment programs. And I'm actually pushing people, to the, like the underserved neighborhoods in those communities where they can still get value. 2 flats, 3 flats, 4 flats. Yeah, the 4 flat unicorn may not be available, but a 2 flat where you have the yard, and somebody's helping pay 50% of your mortgage, maybe not 100%, but 50%, and you got the garage. Just open your horizons and don't look for, like manage your expectations right off the bat, educate them. Don't look for a multifamily in Lincoln Park, Lakeview, Gold Coast. Start looking at, Avondale, look in those peripheral neighborhoods because there's still value there. And when you have the economic sense, and I show somebody how they could do it because I bought my first multifamily 1 year out of college, and fast forward, hundreds of properties I've developed, that's smart, and if you give them that piece of education, like I say, as real estate agents, once you educate them on that option, whether or not they choose to go down that path, you become basically a trusted advisor. You're not just somebody taking them from place to place. You're somebody giving them knowledge and education. So I always tell pour in, double down on understanding every aspect of the real estate game today. So that way, when you have those conversations at a party or wherever you're socializing or communicating with people, you come off as that trusted advisor. So there's no better time than now to kind of make sure your education game is at its top.
Right. So where are you looking at as far as underserved communities to drive people to that are good investment areas?
South and West Sides. I mean, I have a bunch of really, really great success stories where I've got a young couple buying in Woodlawn where the developer bought the property, renovated it, and they're just coming in at the end, turnkey. That's a unicorn, right? Where you come in, you buy. I mean, they bought a $500,000 3 flat with $12,000, right? And they're going to live for free. Right, got another group that's doing a similar thing. They're experienced enough to where they're buying a 4 flat and they're renovating it, and they're going to make it an amazing owner's unit. Same situation. It's going to come in with a little bit of money, but they're going to live for free. So looking for those unicorns takes time. That's one of the things that you got to like educate your clients if they're going down that path. Like, hey, I have a lot of clients that get pre-approved, and they look at the numbers first. They don't look at like bright, shiny. They look at numbers first. And when that drives your buying process, it's probably going to take a little bit longer. But then you see that property hit the market, you move quickly. You don't mess around. I'm a big believer of, full price offers with credits towards closing costs because it looks really good to a selling listing agent and the seller that, hey, full price offer, and they're asking for like $5,000 worth of closing cost credits. That seems like a really good offer, right? So that's kind of one of the main pieces that I tell people, like, look in these neighborhoods that there's value, right? And find something that you can move into, right? Whether it's 2 years or 3 years, because you're going to move anyways, but you're going to pick up an asset. You're going to pick up an income producing asset, and it's going to change your life. It's going to eliminate the largest thing that you have expense-wise in your life, which is your housing payment. That's transformational. And the underserved communities, they're not educated on this. They haven't heard it, right? And so it's our job as real estate professionals to get that word out there, because the more of them that know about it, I'm a big believer of like how we combat like the violence and everything in the communities now is with people of the community, staying in the community, investing in their community, right? And they can do that with generic programs like FHA 203K, where I could buy a house that I'm renting on the same block. I could fix it up, and then I'm going to change that little part of the world. I'm going to make it better, because if I live in a property and I rent out to those other units, I'm going to rent out to really good people that I think are going to take care of my property, not some guy on the northern suburbs that's buying buildings on the south and west side, because all they care about is bottom line. So educating the people in the community that we really need you to stay in the community and invest in your community will change like the success stories on the south and west side. You'll see people like have a vision, because right now you have a bunch of disenfranchised people, especially the youth, that don't see an opportunity, right? They need W's, they need wins, and they need mentors and people winning in those communities. And this is a great opportunity for us to do that.
So I do want to jump in there because I don't necessarily think that represents what goes on in the communities that we do a lot of work in. I mean, there are tons of real estate professionals that do a lot of education in our community surrounding investing in our communities, rehabbing properties, keeping properties, building wealth. I wouldn't say that there is a gap of knowledge. I think maybe there are some challenges sometimes with resources and with capital, but there are a lot of people. I mean, even my company, in itself, and this is not a promo, I mean, we, over the last few years, have been fundamentally committed to holding workshops where we teach people how to generate wealth using real estate, using products like 203K, like buying 3 and 4 units. Part of the reason why there's such a demand for 3 and 4 in our community is because our community is very, very aware of how to generate wealth by buying properties and rehabbing them and holding them for long-term gain. So I just wanted to, jump in and say that.
And I think, just to piggyback on what you said, Lou, that often there are overlays that can be a hindrance from people actually obtaining that vision, right? So like you said, I see all of the time, not only from you or myself, but just realtors and realtor partners, so loan officers, attorneys that are really building their entire brand and business around educating and bringing this information to these communities. But then there are overlays that can stop that, right? So if there aren't programs that are allowing for those that have high student loans to be able to purchase, how are they able to finance this, right? So the information is there, the education is being brought. It's just, can everyone act on that at one time?
Or if the lenders are changing guidelines that say you need a higher credit score to now get a renovation loan, and it makes it so almost impossible for people to actually actualize a dream or the information they're being given. There are a number of challenges, and I don't really think education is the primary thing that is driving some of the lack of activity. I just think that there are things that are not being met and given to people and communities that need it. And I think, unfortunately, that plays out when we see a lot of the social unrest, because if people aren't able to generate wealth, if their communities and the values of their properties don't rise, and it causes an economic turmoil, then it's going to play out some way, somehow.
And I think even when we talk about the property value, right? A lot of times in those underserved communities, the appraisers don't even give the value to that property, even when it's worth it. So that in itself sometimes is a hindrance. You can get to the closing table, you can do everything that you're supposed to do, and then an appraiser comes in and says, listen, I don't see the value there. And the comps can be there, and the appraiser will say, I don't see the value. And sometimes, honestly, there's a bias there because of the media and the way that these neighborhoods are depicted, that even if the brick and mortar says, yes, this should be worth $400,000, that appraisers don't give that value. I do think it's important, though, that we are pushing that agenda and letting that be known, that it is important that we own in our own communities, and that we're not just educating people for instance, on the north side or downtown, and say, listen, come get this inexpensive property and make money off of it. But that it's bigger than that. Go ahead, Lou. I see you.
No, I don't want, to monopolize the conversation with you and I, you know how we can go. you know, I think that like one of the challenges, and I mentioned this earlier, like I'm one of the people that shows up and talks with appraisers and say, hey, the comps might not be here, but listen, the value actually is here. Like we have, if I have 10 buyers that are willing to give an offer of $20,000 above this list price, then you can't tell me that my value
isn't there.
The comps may not show up right now, but how you might see this is probably not what the real picture is. So,
well, I think that's why it's so important to be able to make sure that you're communicating well with these appraisers. I make sure that when I'm meeting, when appraisal is happening, I show up, or I make my team show up, and I make sure that they explain exactly what's going on, so they have that full picture, and there should be no reason, you know, why not give that value. You know, if I had multiple offers, I just experienced this just recently, where I knew it was going to be the highest priced property in the area, and I knew it was going to be a problem, but I said, listen, we had multiple offers on this property. You have to put that in their head so they have that clear understanding. And then on the other side, I don't know if you guys experience this, but I get a lot of phone calls from appraisers. And I'm actually one of those that actually responds and or calls them back. And I give them as much information as possible. And I let them know to help, you know, help with that on that end as well. So I think it really is important to just keep a really good conversation going with appraisers at all times, and helping them out and letting them know that they need to give the value. Home's worth what a buyer's willing to pay. If we got buyers willing to pay, the value's there.
Absolutely.
Agree.
Appraisers want to get deals done. They're not, you know, out there. They're not deal killers, right? But they have a set of guidelines that they got to, you know, follow by the, you know, there's an appraisal rule book that they have to follow. If they don't follow it, right, and they get like a couple of strikes to get that, they could lose their license, they could lose their jobs, right, their livelihood. So I always use the phrase, it's real estate by the community now, right? So all transactions require all people. Like you can't have a listing agent go, I'm just not going to really give them any information, right? Do your job, right? No, like everybody chip in. You know, we have to all work together on every transaction. I know it sounds like a lot of extra work, but it really does require that, especially when you have areas with rapid appreciation, because, you know, an appraiser's, you know, rules are, I gotta come up with 3 comps that have sold within 6 months within 1 square mile of this, or sorry, a circular mile of this property, right? And if I don't have that, you know, I have to do extra work, right? Extra work, right? And without the benefit of having a listing agent give them like, hey, yeah, this one's here, but like here, let me give you some more detail, some more color to this transaction, so that you understand that, you know, this is why the value is what it is. Yes, I got a buyer that is willing to agree. I got a seller that's agreed, listing and a buyer's agent that all have agreed. But, you know, we need a little bit more. So just understand it. Like, they're not trying to kill deals. Let me put it this way: the majority of them, I believe, that I work with are really, really smart individuals. Will you get the occasional jerk appraiser? Yes. I mean, you're going to get occasional jerk, there or other. But I think the majority of them, are really just trying to get the deals done.
Lou and Whitney, I have a question for you guys. Are there banks that specialize in funding in the South Side? Do you know?
I don't know if they specialize in funding on the South Side, but there are programs that are geared towards purchasing in South Side and West Side neighborhoods that I'm aware of. So there's like the MMRP program that if you purchase in certain neighborhoods that you get a grant up to, at one point it was up to $25,000. I think it's up to 15 now. Yep. But you'll get those funds just for purchasing in that area, as long as you meet that income threshold. But I don't know, and Lou, maybe you can speak to that better. I don't know of banks that are specifically for those areas, but I know that there are programs to incentivize people purchasing in certain areas.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say there are programs. I mean, banks are under, they are required to do lending in areas that they bank in, but not in specific programs.
Yeah, just because like when you guys are talking about, there's obvious, value, there's 20 offers and bank still comes in and says, no, it's not, the value is not there. It just doesn't seem fair, right? I mean, like it's something where it almost makes you think like, is the bank using that as a way out, right? I mean, it's not making me think that's exactly what's happening, right? I mean, let's just make it frank.
Yes, please.
Yeah. So the question then comes down to, I mean, you know, because I've been thinking about this a lot, right? Like it's because the way that you make uprise a neighborhood is first having great people, which Southside has just a plethora of. Then it comes down to the money and having the money ready to go. And I've been thinking about this myself, and like, you know, money for businesses that got looted, and having those business owners kind of rebuild, having money readily available for the first-time home buyers that do want to invest into the neighborhoods. And it's a money problem. I mean, honestly, it's a lending problem, right? And I'm not familiar with it by any means, but I mean, I don't have to know, right? I mean, it's something that's been systematic, overdone, and done over many years. So if you ever hear of something like that, and there's like ways to contribute, ways to help, way to be involved. I mean, you know, first off, the Real Producers community is one of, you know, the realtor community, and Chicago community in general is incredibly giving. But keep in touch with me and let me know, because it's something that, you know, I'm impassioned by, and I'm not leaving the city. The city's going to be only getting better and better. And if we can't all rise, if we don't all rise together, right? So just in the back, keeping educating me and let me know if anything like that pops up.
Absolutely. And I appreciate you saying that. I mean, yeah, it's definitely a huge issue. I mean, the way these or some appraisals appraise, I mean, it leads to wealth transfer or lack of wealth transfer.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, we always get in an uproar when we hear about things like looting, and not to downplay that or downplay anybody who's suffered the negative effects of that. But the economic cost of looting, I think, kind of pales in comparison to the economic cost of systemic under appraisals, right? In communities, right? I mean, we're talking about, you know, the trajectory of these individuals' families being changed. You know, if my property underappraised is $10,000 or $20,000, that $20,000 can be the start of a new business, and that business could catapult my family into a whole different reality. So it's a huge problem for us, and it's something that we spend a lot of time and energy, you know, thinking about, talking to people, and informing people. So I appreciate having a conversation this morning.
Right on.
I want to open it. Well, I try to be respectful of everybody's time. I think you guys might have real estate to sell. I don't know, maybe not. But at the same time, I don't want to cut if people are kind of jiving. So I am cool with going a couple minutes over. If you got to bail, no harm, no foul, all good. I will send everybody's email. I mean, sure, you have everybody's email addresses from the calendar invite, but I'll email myself, put everybody on the BCC. Nobody likes to be on an email thread that you know, lasts for a month. So I will do that. But I also wanted to open up to the partners. If they have any questions for realtors, just ask how they can serve them better, or maybe if there's anything else that they've been doing. I feel like we've kind of got the learning curve of COVID out of the way, but even like just things that maybe, you know, they can serve you better with, you know, going into the fall and the winter months. Doesn't have to be that specifically, but I just want to give them the opportunity if they want to ask anything.
Yeah, so thanks, Andy. I've got a quick question for everyone. The majority of our clients have some critical planning work to do between now and year end, because almost all of our clients are selling a lot more real estate in 2020 than they sold in 2019. So they're making a lot more money, especially those agents that are between that 350, 450 mark in terms of income. There's some critical steps that they need to be taken. So my question to everyone on the call here is, you know, what steps are you taking to make sure that your hard-earned commissions are not simply paying your tax bill and your BMW lease, but ultimately, you know, going into your pocket?
I mean, I guess I'll take it. I had an incredible mentor start very early on in my career. The number one lesson that he taught me was the lesson of saving, right? And less is more, and understanding kind of what's coming out of your pocket and what's going in, right? And nurturing, and honestly, over a year, it took a long time to understand, like, how to save and what saving means, and then partnering up with incredible professionals like you, Jim, that understand the tax code and checking in on an like monthly or quarterly basis, being like, okay, Greg, you're projected to make this. These are the type of investments that you should be making to really help you stay away from, you know, monster tax hits, right? So it's not like set it and forget it. I mean, you know, for us that don't pay taxes on a you know, monthly basis, we don't have a paycheck. We just kind of get commission checks and we have to pay it off ourselves. It's a huge learning curve for a lot of people, and it's amazing how many people never take the time to truly understand. And it feels like it's an annual thing where you're just like, how did all this money get out of here? How did all this money? So it's like understanding very, very, very well where your money is coming in and out of, and having like basically like a QuickBooks for your company and for your own personal business of where all of your resources are coming in, and definitely hiring a professional that oversights that.
I would agree. From the very beginning, when I went full-time in real estate, I hired an accountant that specialized in real estate. And so it'll be the same thing, just making sure that you have the correct entity set up, and that, you know, you're being paid correctly, you know, through that entity, and you have tax shelters set up.
Mm-hmm.
Let me add one more thing. Greg, you mentioned this, and I think Lou and Whitney mentioned this. There's some unbelievable opportunities in the state of Illinois. It's called the Illinois SGO program, for you to make contributions to schools, inner city schools that are ministering to these families, that are caring for these families in need. And you can wipe out your entire state tax liability. My wife and I paid no state tax income last year because of some of these programs. So, you know, if you want to ping me afterwards, I'd be happy to share that with you. It's an unbelievable.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thanks for saying that. I didn't know that.
That is incredible.
Yeah. I want to learn a lot about that.
Gundy, are you up? I mean, I don't want to, you know, I want to give you the opportunity if you want to talk, but dude, you're just you being here. I appreciate, man. You're a trooper.
It's great to see everybody out there fighting the good fight, doing your deals, and I'm very proud of all of you. And I'll be back in the fight. Give me another week or so.
We'll get
Thank you just for hopping on.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes. Well,
Stay healthy, everybody. This is not pleasant. Let's put it that way.
We have a live COVID. Oh, that's crazy, man. Thank you, seriously, Gunderson, for hopping on. Your trooper. Well, let's wrap it up with that. I want to be respectful of everybody's time, so we're going to cut the feed. You guys know the drill. If you're interested in getting on another one of these, email me. We try to put these just so different people can interact and shuffle the deck a little bit. So I'm going to cut the stream. Thanks for everybody who tuned in live. Peace. All right, we are no longer live. We are no longer live anymore. Now we have another hour to talk real. I'm just kidding.
Okay.
Seriously, I know.
Look at Melanie. Melanie was like, bye.
No,
Come out of here.
Pushing 1-2 minutes over is all good because I know you guys have jam-packed schedules. But thank you. I will send the recording of this. You can like, comment, and share on it if you want to, or not. It's fine. Either way.
Thank you so much for having us on.
Yeah,
try to go save some deals.
All the love, guys. Take care.
Yeah,
Bye.
See you guys.
Yeah,